we've especially as uh, Bitcoin's price action over the last month has done what it's done, that tends to draw a lot of interest, and I end up on a lot of phone calls, and um, none of this has been done before, so it is understandably uh, difficult, at least initially, for um, people to kind of grasp where this may all be headed. So I think on each of these calls, it'd be helpful for me to talk a bit about, our mission at Ikigai, why we're here, and, kind of more thoroughly unpack some of our North Stars. So specifically right now, I'd like to talk about, the trust revolution, our role in it, and value mobility. So every person on the planet is born into a constitution that they don't have control over. It's effectively a genetic lottery, and some constitutions are better than others. Some are more focused on humans and freedom and liberty, and so the trust revolution is about giving people the choice. It's about giving them the opportunity to write their own personal bill of rights, to say and to build their own list of amendments to that constitution that they didn't have a choice over, and say, I want to amend my constitution in this way. So like, for example, with Bitcoin, there's a lot of people in the world that aren't blessed with the dollar, the euro, the pound, or the yen. And so Bitcoin is like a really good First Amendment to build into their Bill of Rights. And also for those of us in relatively stable first world countries, it's a way to step outside of modern monetary theory and infinite money printing and UBI, and it's an opt-in that anyone with an internet connection can say, I like the freedoms and liberties that Bitcoin provides, so let me add to that to my Bill of Rights. The menu of other opt-in rights and freedoms to select from, for any individual, is going to continue to get longer. That is the trust revolution. It's way too early to tell what the long-term landscape looks like and what the winners are going to be, and which are good menu options and which are bad menu options. But I'd like to walk through kind of a quick thought exercise and draw an analogy to how the internet was built and some of the companies that kind of were most foundation or are most foundational to that. One of my favorite ways to think about the trust revolution is in terms of value mobility. So that is to say, how can value be expressed, secured, and transferred while minimizing or eliminating the need for anyone sitting in the middle, for any third-party intermediary. And to clarify, when I say value, I mean that in the absolute broadest sense. Data has value. The power and influence and decisions that world leaders have, that has value. Bitcoin and digital assets, digital dollars, central bank digital currencies have value. Rare battle axes in a gaming ecosystem has value, and so on. So kind of expand your mind when I say value, that it's not just money. There's a lot that can be expressed digitally and captured digitally. Simplistically, values in the eye of the beholder. And what this technology does is allows us to capture, the eye of the beholder, so to speak. So wherever there's value, there's a very deep incentive to take advantage of or hack that value to benefit, oneself, as opposed to use it to positively impact humanity. On several of these calls, you've heard Hans say, don't trust, verify. And what he's really saying there is that code is verifiable. Humans, for the entirety of our history, have had problems trusting one another because kind of at our core, we're relatively selfish individuals, and we're going to generally save ourselves over our neighbor. And so in the context of needing to trust a third party, diminishing that reliance over time is a really good thing. So as that relates to the internet, the way the internet was built the first time around has served as a incredible catalyst for the need for the trust revolution. So the internet was originally built in a way that security and data protection and data sovereignty and rights were completely on the back burner. It was all centralized in the winners that I'm going to talk about here in a second. We've been building that for the last 5 decades. A majority of that actual consumer adoption has come in the last 10 to 12 years. But broadly, we're now at a point that you do have data mobility. It's just a fancy way of saying the internet, instantaneous global information dissemination. That is data mobility, and the companies that have seen astonishing wins in carving out a niche of that data mobility landscape. I guess monopoly is probably closer to appropriate, but they've done something in that stack better than anyone else. And so a couple examples. Google deciphers the internet better than anyone else. So they're able to parse the entire landscape of what is connected and take your search and serve up the most relevant pieces of the internet to you. So they're deciphering all of the potential and serving it to you, and they do that better than anyone else. Amazon hosts data mobility better than anyone else. AWS is their bread and butter. They also translate data mobility to physical mobility better than anyone else. They're the number one logistics planet or number one logistics company on the planet. Microsoft bundles data mobility better than anyone else. If you think about an organization has an internal kind of universe of information that needs to interact effectively in order to run that large organization. So that they administer and manage and govern all of that, and bundling is core to achieving that, so that you're able to keep everything within kind of a walled garden. Facebook targets data mobility better than anyone else. They know everything about you. They know your likes, your dislikes, who you're friends with, where you've been, all of that, which there's no better recipe to serve up, to match you with advertisers in a very relevant way. And the final one I'll say is Apple. And Apple out experiences data mobility better than anyone else. And if you need a physical way, you need a physical product in order to interact with the internet. And the products that Apple provides have a better experience, bar none, than most other companies. So Apple out experiences. So across all of these, as the internet was getting built, timing was everything. Google wasn't the first search engine. YouTube wasn't the first video sharing platform. For a lot of that, the key inhibitor was you just needed enough people in the world with sufficient broadband penetration. You can't watch videos on the internet if you've got 56K dial-up internet. But what they started with was a single product that was needed at that point. They had a broader mission that they held on to, but they started with a product that was needed now. Amazon, you hear Jeff Bezos interviews talking about, a relentless focus on the customer. And what he's really talking about when you zoom out is trust. And so it's kind of hard to understate how much value can be created with an entity that's automatically trusted. That is more true now than ever before. If you think about trying to sell the vision of Apple or Amazon decades ago, and you'd said they'd be worth trillions of dollars today, you'd probably get laughed out of the room. But now, because of that focus on trust, there are a couple of the world's most trusted brands. They can release literally any product they want, and people will trust it and they will buy it. If Apple will release a car, or Amazon a pharmacy, which are both actually on the docket, people would buy it because they trust the brands. Um, so as it relates to value mobility and the trust revolution, the those analogous slots are not solidified. There's no company or brand that does a piece of value mobility better than anyone else yet. Um, and simplistically, Travis and I and the team at Ikigai are working uh, very hard to have Ikigai fill one or multiple of those slots. That's where our vision is. In crypto, there's only a few products that are needed and revenue generative right now, and you can build a sustainable business foundation on. You've got exchanges, you've got firms providing passive exposure, and a few active funds. So, it we're a hedge fund right now, but that's not where we're ending. Very similar to Amazon has started as a bookstore. We started as a hedge fund, and we go about kind of chasing that vision with just a relentless focus on foundations and principles to guide us, so that when we get 10 years down the road, we'll have a foundation that uh, when the tide goes out, is astonishingly firm, while many others are probably going to be standing on stilts, and maybe washed away in a single storm. It's patience and a long-term viewpoint to avoid saying, "Ooh, look at the shiny new thing," or imagine a world where, um, we're looking and building kind of toward the inevitable. And Travis and I talk a lot about this in the context of reducing the risks of mortality. You need to survive and build a strong foundation during the early development phase, so that you can strive, so that you can grow and thrive in the growth phase of a technology. That's why they call it day one at Amazon. It's just a relentless focus on doing the hard work and building the foundations. Making sure that every single step is taken along the way. And we're coming up on the holiday season here, and I know that vision is grand, and it's still very early, but everyone on this call, internally we call them ikiguys and ikigals. Y'all did the hard work and took a risk on us early. We can't thank you enough for that. We firmly believe Ikigai will be a leading brand as the trust revolution and era of kind of value mobility continues to take hold and get adopted. And each one of the partners on this call today are a foundational piece of realizing that vision. And again, none of this has been done before. There is no playbook. So when I say that we are incredibly excited to have all of you on board, and so incredibly appreciative of the support and the engagement and the thoughtful discussion, please know that that is not lip service in the slightest. We really, really mean that. So thank you. I hope everyone has an incredible holiday season. Toward the end of the year, I'm going to be sending out a kind of Google form, and we're going to work on putting together some much overdue Ikigai apparel. So we'll get sizes and preferences, and I'll send that out toward the end of the year. But thank you.
I echo all that. Anthony does a great job of pulling me out of the trees and make sure I think about the forest sometimes. We divide and conquer in that way.